What's going on, y'all? This is John Alsace with Facemask Fantasy. We got new up-to-date fantasy content coming your way every day on this channel, so if you have not subscribed already, then please hit that button. But before we get into our main topic for today, my co-host Nick Payne put in a ton of work to give you guys a free 2021 Redraft draft kit available on our website, which can be found at facemaskpod.com. It's a great piece of content, something that other analysts might be charging you for, but we're giving it to you for free. So without further ado, let's get into some fantasy talk. And today I want to talk about a rookie that we've already addressed, and that's Ja'Marr Chase. Because some recent reports coming out of training camp, coming out from the beat reporters, have not painted him in the best light. And he hasn't done everything that we expected him to be able to do. He hasn't shown that ceiling that he has in preseason or by all accounts in practice. Now, the Athletic's Paul Denner Jr. reported recently that Ja'Marr Chase could lose regular snaps to Auden Tate. I never thought I'd be reading those words. And while Denner went on to state that Ja'Marr Chase's skill set is unique and you see flashes of it early, he says you also see somebody tentatively getting used to a new offense, a new league, and not playing football since January 2020. According to Denner, and I quote, "He has not shown as much separation as you'd hope, and the contested balls just haven't gone his way much either." Now, this after Ja'Marr Chase was held catchless in Friday's preseason game against the Washington football team. He received 3 targets that game, but he dropped all 3 of them. It's not the step forward that the Bengals were hoping for from Chase, who's struggled getting open in training camp practices by all accounts. Now, Chase has not played competitive football since 2019, and he said after that preseason game that I just referenced that he's still, and I quote, adjusting to the timing of the NFL. And I think that we should be giving him the benefit of the doubt here, because drops were never a problem for Chase at LSU, with just 5 drops on 118 targets in 2019. The Bengals may look to give Chase a few reps in the final preseason game against Miami next week, just to see if he can start stringing some good days together. But this news about Ja'Marr Chase, at least in the short term, compounded by the struggles that Joe Burrow has apparently had in camp himself with interceptions and inconsistency, stemming from his recovery from his own injury himself last season. According to beat reporters, the Bengals offense is turning the ball over multiple times in every practice. We all know that the Bengals offensive line has in the past been a concern, and they famously went and drafted Ja'Marr Chase instead of going Penei Sewell in this past draft. But apparently there was a play in practice recently on which one of Burrow's better throws to Ja'Marr Chase was only possible because Trey Hendrickson, the guy rushing the passer, slowed down on his way to the franchise quarterback. So that's obviously not going to happen in a game situation. So that perfect play in practice just is not going to happen in a real game scenario. Joe Burrow is 9 months removed from that major knee injury, and the Bengals' ability to protect Burrow has been a concern throughout the entire offseason. And it's hard not to want to downgrade every offensive weapon here with some of this news coming out about Joe Burrow, not even about Ja'Marr Chase. And that downgrade would be more severe for a rookie who is not acclimating well to the NFL by all accounts. This after the Bengals head coach, Zach Taylor, said the team would not force any targets to one receiver this season. So if they're not forcing the targets to Ja'Marr Chase, and he's having trouble catching them, and they're not the greatest targets to begin with in the first place because Joe Burrow is playing a little scared off of his injury and hasn't worked his way back to full strength yet, I don't know how I feel about him in season long. I just gotta say. Now, looking at last year, the target distribution for this offense, Tyler Boyd led the Bengals with a 21% target share in Joe Burrow's 9 full games. Now, AJ Green was second with 19%, and Higgins was third with 17%. I'd expect the breakdown for this year to look more like Higgins with the 21% target share, Tyler Boyd with the 19% target share, and Chase with the around 17% target share that Higgins got last season. That number might be even lower, because last year Higgins jumped into the NFL and proved he belonged from day one. Now, Chase, by all accounts, is not ready to prove he belongs from day one. Maybe he's just knocking off a lot of that rust that he has on him for having not played football since 2019. Now, I am high on his prospects of working out long term, as he's almost a bulletproof wide receiver prospect. but he may be a wide receiver that needs time to develop as a 21-year-old rookie before he can assert himself as the dominant force that he's projected to eventually become in the NFL. Not every wide receiver is Justin Jefferson and just comes into the league guns blazing as a rookie. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So how are we taking all this news and applying it to fantasy? In season long, he's not one of the rookie wide receivers that I'm looking at, as this offense should, by all accounts, struggle if Burrow's off-season woes should continue into the regular season, and there are just a lot of mouths to feed regardless. I like Waddle more in season long, as while he's dealing with a minor injury, he'll be the clear-cut wide receiver 1 in week 1, with Fuller sidelined with his suspension. And Parker, we all know that he's shown that he's not a true number 1 in this league. Waddle should be able to step in day 1 and prove his worth from a projected target share perspective. And Chase is currently the 24th wide receiver being drafted with an ADP of 68. Now Waddle is down at wide receiver 45 with an ADP of 113, and that's just much more palatable for me. I mean, even in his own offense, with all this news going on, I would rather have T. Higgins at wide receiver 29 with an ADP of 73 over Chase, who right now has an ADP 5 players ahead of him. And I'd much rather have wide receiver 36 Tyler Boyd at an ADP of 87. Because while I know that T. Higgins was a rookie last season, it was Boyd who led the Bengals in target share last season with Joe Burrow healthy. And while I project him to be relegated to the secondary option in this offense, he could absolutely lead his team in target share this season as well. Now, he was drafted in the top 10, which is rare. There aren't many wide receivers in the past 10 years who have been drafted in the top 10 in the NFL. This year there were 3. It was Jamar Chase, then Waddle, then Devonta Smith. Now, we're all going gaga over these guys because they're first-round picks, they're high first-round picks. But let's take a look at some of the other wide receivers who were drafted in the top 10 in the NFL draft. Corey Davis in 2017. In his rookie season, he finished as the wide receiver 105. Mike Williams in 2017. In his rookie season, he finished as the wide receiver 147. John Ross, 2017. He finished as the wide receiver 213. Amari Cooper, 2015, finished as the wide receiver 24. And Kevin White was also drafted in the top 10 in 2015, but he didn't play that season. Sammy Watkins was drafted in 2014, and he finished as the wide receiver 16. Mike Evans was also drafted in that historic 2014 draft, and he finished as the wide receiver 27. Tavon Austin in 2013 was the wide receiver 56 that year. Justin Blackmon in 2012 was the wide receiver 28 that season, and then he never played a game again. AJ Green was the wide receiver 14 in 2011 as a rookie. Julio Jones also in 2011 was the wide receiver 17. So 2009 to 2020, over an 11-year span, wide receiver 86 is the average finish for a wide receiver drafted within the first 10 picks of the NFL draft. So just let that sink in a little bit. And remember some of these names, because again, we were all super hype on the prospects of Chase, Waddle, and Smith coming into the league and lighting the world on fire, but that often does not happen year one with wide receivers. Honestly, I can only point to 4 players in the past 10 years with which that's happened, and 3 of them should be Hall of Famers. I mean, Julio Jones should be a Hall of Famer. I mean, Julio Jones, first ballot, right? AJ Green, Hall of Famer. Mike Evans, Hall of Famer, right? All this to say, in Dynasty, this has the look of a buying window, and the buying window might extend into the regular season. I'm shooting my shot everywhere I can just to see if the owner is taking some of this news that we've gone over too hard. My advice to you is to shoot out a text to whoever owns Chase if you're in a Dynasty league, just to see where they're at with him. Then try again in week 2, because I believe the struggles in camp will continue into the regular season, especially in light of Joe Burrow's documented struggles of late. Because 9 out of the 13 wide receivers drafted in the top 10 picks are guys you ended up wanting on your team. 5 of them just didn't do it in their first season. That might happen for Chase despite how highly touted he was coming out, and I think there's a chance that you can capitalize here on this. So again, just a quick overview. In season long, I'm out on him at his current ADP. He would need to drop to around where Waddle is being drafted right now for me to even want to have a chance at him. But in Dynasty, I think this is a sneaky buy window, and I really do think this buy window will persist into the NFL season. So what do you guys think about Jamar Chase? Do you think I'm overreacting to some of this news? Put your thoughts in the comments section below. My name is John Alsace. This is Facemask Fantasy. We bring you new up-to-date fantasy content right here on this channel, so if you have not hit the subscribe button, please do. Thank you for listening and have a great day.